And once again, good evening. I'm Dave Morris from the Opupco Studios with an election night update. We're seeing some early results coming in and perhaps gaining a glimpse of what's ahead tonight. Nick Tragakis from the Oklahoman's newsroom joins me once again. And Nick, we are seeing some results.
Yeah, and in fact, we're seeing some emphatic results. The Associated Press has already called several races, notably the governor's Republican primary. Mary Fallin, they say, will win.
And this was no surprise.
Yes. Beats out a couple of pro-marijuana legalization opponents. I don't think that was a big shocker to many people.
And she will now face Joe Dorman because there wasn't another Democratic challenger. Joe Dorman goes on to the general election versus Mary Fallin November 4th.
That's correct. Other candidates who will be advancing to that general election on November 4th, Associated Press says Mark Wayne Mullen in the 2nd Congressional District will win his race, Tom Cole in the 4th District, Frank Lucas in the 3rd District. They will all hold the nomination for their seats in Congress and move on to the general election in November. State Insurance Commissioner John Doak, the Associated Press says, will win his race. And in another one that was not a big surprise, the race didn't generate a lot of interest. U.S. Senator Jim Inhofe will retain his seat on the Republican ticket, the AP reports.
You know, you mentioned John Doak. One of the things we're doing tonight on newsok.com, which is pretty cool, we're compiling all these Twitter feeds and all these tweets from our reporters who are out in the field or in the newsroom working the phones. Our Brianna Bailey on that race reports, just spoke with Insurance Commissioner candidate Bill Viner, and I hope I'm saying his name right there. He just got back from shopping at Target. Glamorous night in the election world. But that's good analysis and context coming in. That is an important statewide seat. I believe it oversees significant amounts of dollars in the insurance world.
Yeah, and that's a race where there were no Democratic challengers. So John Doak, not only does he win the Republican primary, but he wins the seat and will serve another term as insurance commissioner.
Well, let's talk about some of the other big races that are still being contested.
So yeah, our two marquee races, as we mentioned the last hour, the unexpired U.S. Senate seat, filling in for Tom Coburn when he steps down. We have about a quarter of the precincts reporting right now in Lankford. James Lankford is out to a decent lead. He's got 55% of the vote. His main challenger, T.W. Shannon, the state representative and former House Speaker, he's got 35% of the vote. We've seen that race in the last 15 minutes or so start trending a little more with Shannon picking up a few votes. So I would think at this point, it's still a little early to say that there won't be a runoff in that race. Shannon, I think, can still hope to chip into that lead that Lankford has. The other big race, obviously, is the Republican race for state superintendent. And this one has had a lot of fireworks, if you will.
Absolutely.
Right off the bat.
We mentioned the he said, she said in some races. This was a she said, she said type race.
Definitely. And the voters are having their say too now because the challenger, Joy Hofmeister, after about a quarter of the precincts reporting, has 56% of the vote. In a little bit of a shocker, incumbent state superintendent Gianni Barisi, 20.8% of the vote, and is actually being surpassed by a third contestant in that Republican primary, unheralded Brian Kelly, who's got Barisi down by
out of Edmond, I believe,
by several hundred votes right now, with about a quarter of the precincts reporting. So, not looking like things are off to a good start for the state superintendent Barisi at this point in time.
Yeah, and a lot of money in that race as well. Nick Tragakis from the Oklahoman's newsroom, and you'll be back at 9 o'clock with our next update. I mentioned the live coverage that we have tonight on newsok.com. It's a great way to join the conversation, but also to gain some context and analysis as we move throughout the night. Our reporters are at various watch parties, but also monitoring other races and sources tonight to bring you the latest. And I'll mention an example here. The News OK Politics Twitter account noted that Senator Jim Inhofe is on the ballot today, along with Senator Tom Coburn's seat. First time in state history, both Senate seats are on the same ballot. That live coverage online at newsok.com, updated as information comes in. Good work by our Tiffany Gibson and Matt Carney. And Nick Tragakis, as I mentioned just a second ago. Thanks to him. Big thanks to Todd Frazier and Paige Dillard in the control room tonight. We'll be back with another live video update at 9 p.m.